Well, hello, Madcappers. Today I'm going to show you how to trim any hat, but we are going to use our big brim beautiful beach hat and make it fabulous just by adding your first introduction to trim, a scarf. Now, I did show you how to make a pin on our winter hats last season, and we're going to do a scarf now, and we'll be using both of these trims in our next batch of videos. So we'll start with a piece of polyvoile that's about 36 inches or 92 centimeters long and about 7 inches or 18 centimeters deep. And I buy this fabric from a supplier on Etsy, and I will put that link in the description below. It has a bit of a texture and I love it. And we're going to fold the scarf piece in half lengthwise. So one end of the scarf, or one edge of the scarf, will have a sewn seam and the other a fold line. And we'll leave an opening in the center about 2.5 inches or 6 centimeters wide. Now, you can use any kind of material that you would like to make your scarf. I find that it's nice to have something that's sort of transparent. It just dresses it up a little bit. And you can also make your scarf longer if you want to tie the ends in a bow when you're all finished, or you can make it shorter if you want a smaller knot than the one that I'm going to show you that this length makes. And I'm just going to use a narrow seam, about 1/4 inch or 6 millimeters wide. And if you're lucky enough to live near a store that has a large drapery fabric department, you'll find perfect materials for your scarves in that section of the store. But there's all sorts of different voiles in the apparel section of your favorite big fabric store as well. Any of the voiles that have a cotton or a silk content work great as well. And I'm just going to pull out my stitching a little bit because I'm using my industrial machine with my regular cotton and fleece fabric settings. So I just want to straighten out that line of sewing as best I can before I turn my scarf right side out through that opening in the center. And the first thing I'll do though before I do that is I am just going to finish up this end here. I'll close it up with a back and forth at the top and a back and forth at the bottom. And I'm going to clip away at the corners, trimming away that extra fabric that's on the raw edge. And I'll do that on both sides. And I used this scarf pattern, or this template that I've shared with you, to decorate lots of hats. I've done it on straw hats and lots of cotton hats in my summer line, and I've done it on fleece hats with a voile or a poly fabric that's not so sheer. Sometimes I've even done it with a very thin velvet on my winter hats that are made of fleece. But it makes a hat look a little bit dressier, less casual, and sometimes you need a hat that's a little bit dressier and less casual. Now this hat is a cotton linen hat in plain fabrics using my big brim beautiful beach hat pattern, and I would think that this hat would be something that you would love to wear to a summer wedding or an evening garden party. And once I've finished, I'm going to press my piece flat and making sure that that open in the center is pressed under as well, just like the seam. Now, I'm just going to try my scarf on for size, and I'll just sort of center it where I want it to be and see where my ends are going to land up and where I'm going to start to sew it onto the hat. And I love to have my trims a little bit off center at the front of the hat, but you could definitely sew this so that that knot will be at the back or right at the front in the center if you'd like. And I decided that my scarf is going to be positioned like this, and I'm just going to see where I start my seam. So I'm going to position my scarf around the brim of my hat with the right side of my scarf facing the top side of my brim. And when I say the right side of my scarf, I mean that I've sort of turned it so that the seam is going to be the wrong side, and that is the side that I'm going to sew on top of. And I'm going to start sewing my scarf onto the hat at the spot where I want the knot to be, and I'm going to start about 6 inches or 15 centimeters inside from the end of the edge of one end of my scarf, and I'll sew around to within 6 inches or 15 centimeters of the other edge or end of my scarf. And I'm just sort of sewing on top of that seam that I made in the scarf on that long edge. And as I sew over it, I'm going to be sewing over top of my opening, which is pressed to look like my seam. And I'm sewing my scarf onto the very top edge of my brim where the brim and the band meet. And it's just about the width of my narrow presser foot. And I will stop sewing, leaving a gap or an opening between the start and the end of that seam that joins the scarf onto the hat, leaving an opening of about 3 inches or 7 centimeters. And then I'll flip the scarf up so I've covered that seam inside and between the outside of my scarf and the band of the hat. And I have a nice, beautiful fold line where my scarf meets my brim, and it just softens up the edge of that part of the hat where the band and the brim meet as well. And I'll take my time and I'll tie my ends into a lovely knot, and I will fluff up the ends so it looks like that knot is actually a bow. And there you have it, a really easy way to trim any hat. But of course, I'm using one of the hats that I taught you recently, the big brim beautiful beach hat. Turning this plain linen hat into something special, something that you would be happy to wear to a wedding or even to the beach. But definitely in the beach chair, asking your friend or partner to please bring me a cocktail. It's that kind of hat now, and you can jazz it up with a pin in the center of that knot to make it even prettier. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below and I will answer you as quickly as I can. So the scarf just adds a different trim option for your hats that you're going to love making. And of course, we did learn how to make the bow, and I forgot to mention that at the beginning. So we do have the bow trim, the scarf trim, and the pin trim. And you can take the bow from our big brim beach hat and add a different center, not the one that's built into the band, but add a new center with a clip on it and turn it into a fascinator. And that video will be linked below as well. We love all sorts of trims on our hats on this channel, and I just want to say a special thank you to Illy for the modeling. Thank you to our video producers, our patrons, and our channel members for supporting the channel. And you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram as well. We're also Madcap Hats there. Super thanks are always appreciated. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. And we will see you again soon with our next video. We have lots coming up. I'm Tori Capes, certified milliner. Bye for now.